What's going on, everybody? AEW made a massive announcement. Also, WWE has major plans for a future PLE in another market. And we are going to talk about a former WWE superstar. At this point, I would classify them as a legend, and it sounds like they are done wrestling. If you guys want more videos like this, don't forget to click that subscribe button, ring that bell. This way you always get notified of everything going down. Let's talk about Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey, we saw her in WWE. We saw her even show up in Ring of Honor. At one point, it actually seemed like Ronda Rousey would potentially be going to AEW, which could have made a lot of sense, right? With Marina Shafir being there. But she actually confirmed in an interview with the Lapsed Fan podcast that her wrestling career is essentially done. She was asked if her wrestling career is now in the rearview mirror, and she says pretty much I would say so. She explained that her main motivation for getting into WWE was to work with her real-life friends and fellow MMA4 horsewomen, Shayna Baszler, Marine Shafir, and Jessamine Duke, a storyline that was consistently teased but never actually fully done. She obviously went to WWE. She's been pretty blunt about her experience in WWE as well, which I don't think we should ignore. I think she kind of made it clear where she stood with WWE, especially between the different eras of Vince McMahon and Triple H. But I'm a little sad. I'm not gonna lie. I thought Ronda Rousey was a dope talent. I don't think Ronda Rousey had the best promo skills. I don't think her character work was the best. But I think Ronda Rousey kind of helped bring a little bit of legitimacy, especially being a crossover star. Sometimes you see celebrities in crossover appearances and some people really aren't passionate about it, but I do feel as if Ronda Rousey could, she actually did some good stuff in the ring. WWE, I feel like regardless of how Ronda Rousey may feel, I feel like WWE always treated her pretty well in terms of booking and spotlight. So to hear that Ronda Rousey's done wrestling, it is a little bit of a shocker. And I genuinely want to talk about her potentially going to AEW and what that could have been, because Ronda Rousey fits the AEW system extremely well. And not only that, but Ronda Rousey is one of the most famous names in women's MMA. And being such a legend in the sport of UFC, mixed martial arts, and being at the very top over there, and then obviously her judo background, I feel like she could have done some really cool things in AEW. Especially when you look at the Death Rider storyline. I'm not a fan of the Death Rider storyline. I've never really been a fan of it, but maybe even having Ronda Rousey involved in that could have been really cool. I think AEW would have done really well with booking her. I think they would have done a really good job presenting her. And I think her lack of character skills would have actually been made up for the way AEW kind of produces things, because characters aren't a big part of what AEW does, but instead obviously, the wrestling aspect and stuff matters. So yeah, Ronda Rousey is done wrestling. That brings us to our next topic, ladies and gentlemen. We should talk about it. Some WWE news going forward. There is a push within the WWE to hold a premium live event in another country. And this is really interesting because, we've heard and we've seen WWE go to Australia. We've seen them go to Germany. We've seen them go to France. We've seen them go to Australia. Did I say Australia? Yeah. We've seen that. We've seen Saudi Arabia. There was rumors that WWE was pushing for Mexico and Italy. However, internally, according to a new report from Fightful Select, it appears that WWE internally is pushing for a premium live event in China. And I thought that was really interesting. So WWE wants to have a broader global expansion, which makes a lot of sense. WWE had a few shows from 2016 to 2019 in which they would go to China. We know that they had tryouts as well. But now WWE has an internal strategy to bring a premium live event to China. And I think that would be pretty cool, man. I think I love the idea of global expansion. I think I've been saying this a lot in recent years, but UFC was just in Shanghai and they did an event over there and that was cool. And, WWE has done all these different countries. And yes, I still want to see WWE go to Italy. I would love to see them go to Mexico. I mean, hell, I would love for WWE to go to Albania. I would love WWE to go to, India again. I would like for them to go to all of these countries. I would love for more professional wrestling to pop up internationally. I think that would be a really good thing for the industry as a whole. But China is one where I feel like you don't really hear a lot about professional wrestling either. So for WWE to go to China, I think would be considered a big deal. Now, I've never been to China. Of course, I can only talk about what I see on like YouTube vlogs where people, they go and visit and stuff. But What does the pro wrestling world look like in China? How big of an industry is it over there? That to me is interesting. I'm very intrigued by that. And I think, personally speaking, I have a lot of intrigue in that. So, China would be an interesting market for WWE from a fan experience, but also, could WWE do more out there? How popular is WWE in China? I don't know, right? Like, I haven't done that research, but I imagine if WWE did some sort of pay per view there, that would be really dope. I don't know the time zone difference either, so that might potentially be a logistical issue for WWE to figure out. But I think this is very possible. I think WWE going to China would be very possible. I could see it very much happening soon, within a few years. And I think WWE could potentially go to China and show the world, that they are really good at global expansions. And then I'm going to throw this out there too. What about AEW? Would that be a possibility? I don't know. And that brings us to our final topic, ladies and gentlemen. AEW All Out has officially changed its start time for the event. They have responded to WWE's counter programming with WrestlePalooza. Tony Khan revealed on Twitter today that AEW All Out will now begin at 3 p.m. Eastern instead of 8 p.m. Eastern, and the event will no longer be going head to head with WWE WrestlePalooza. In addition to that, this will be the first pay per view available to buy on HBO Max for $39.99 instead of the $50 price point. Now, that's for HBO Max subscribers. So if you are subscribed to HBO Max and you pay for an HBO Max subscription, they basically take the cost of your subscription off of the pay per view, right? It's like $10 a month for the subscription. So it's really the same money, but you don't have to go elsewhere. You don't have to go to Amazon Prime. You don't have to go to Triller. You don't have to go to payperview.com. You're essentially able to get that. And I think this is good. I think some people are kind of confused about how I may feel about AEW. I did a live stream on this today, and I genuinely think them being head to head does not impact me because I watch on two screens anyways. I watch the Wednesday Night Wars, two screens, dual monitor setup. I'm not the typical fan. I understand not everybody's going to have to do that. AEW, by choosing to go early, some people are making fun of AEW for that. I don't think so. I think as a consumer, you should be happy that you don't have to watch two screens at once. You could just give all of your attention to one show, and then immediately after that show, you could watch the other one. I'm okay with that. I think it's fine. I don't blame Tony Khan for making the change. It's been written on the wall. WWE was going to force this change to them. But that's what counter programming does. And hopefully AEW goes and swings for the fences. The better that you put on a show, the better it is for you and your fan base. Don't worry about your competition. Just worry about you and the quality of your show, and your fans who paid for it should be leaving happy. So I think that's a good thing. WWE is the big bad wolf. We know this. They are the powerhouse. They are the giant. And AEW cannot compete with that. So, AEW could get a little bit of time, a little bit of spotlight on their own. When WWE does their own thing, then people will be focusing on WWE. The only question I have now is, will WWE randomly put a pay-per-view on at 3 o'clock for NXT? That is something that's a possibility, right? Let me know what you guys think down below.